Okay, we are back with the third part of this video and obviously divided from the other two. And in this one, I'm going to show you as a musician how you can adjust temperament, how you can adjust concert pitch, and also give you some reasons why you should or shouldn't do certain things and what the effects of what you do have on your instrument. Because I think it's only fair to present the information. Um, and I've spoken at length with piano tuners and done, obviously, having been a music major in college 3 times. There's a few things that we learned that make sense. And now with the research that I'm doing now, I'm just passing some of that along to you in a very easy format. So without further ado, I love that word. And I think we might have quiet cats now. I spoke too soon. Anyway, it's always entertaining around here. What can I say? Let us go now to the sharing the screen. And we shall start from the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. Roll back the curtain, my friends. Roll it back. All right. So choosing concert pitch and temperament. We're going to do a little bit of revisiting some of the other things in the previous video. Whoops. I'm trying to get this. There we go. I have to go back to the other one. Okay. I think I'm going to move this down here. It seemed to be better in the bottom corner. Okay, so we're going to learn how to, well, first of all, we're going to do recap and then choose your concert pitch, choose your temperament, what you have to consider when you're making those choices, and some final tips. Here's a recap from the last 2 videos. Concert pitch and temperament, they must work together. Now, most of us don't have to think about it because equal temperament is our standard, so we never think about temperament. But people tend to get concert pitch and temperament mixed up. They're not the same thing. Concert pitch is like a family of notes that sound good together. You begin the process with one note, A 440, which is the A above middle C. Or you can tune that A slightly lower to A 432, or even lower to 415, or higher, whichever. It's simply tuning that A, and then you take that starting note and determine which temperament you want to use if your instrument isn't already set up in equal temperament. And then you tune fourths and fifths, generally within a couple octaves. You know, the old ancient Sumerian tablet I mentioned last week, they would tune the lyres perfect fifth up, a perfect fifth up, and then from that note, a perfect fourth down, another perfect fourth down. Then they go up a fifth and a fifth until they had all of the notes in the scale. Then they would tune the other octaves. I believe that's how most piano tuners do it. You know, this is what, 3,000 years later, we're still doing it the same way. Modern instruments are made to play in A440 and equal temperament. But there are ways around that if you want to have a different sound. Only strings, non-fretted, and winds can adjust temperament at this time if you're using modern instruments. Temperament and concert pitch families. I'm calling them families as you saw what I did in the last 2 videos. Notes are grouped into color families. Every note has a variety of colors. So we know that the note C is green. Now, if you go higher in pitch, you're going to have a different color of green. If you go lower in pitch, then you're eventually going to morph into the yellows, the lime green, which then moves into yellow. The blues, they start on D, you know, kind of a light blue. And as you go towards the D sharp or E flat, then they get darker. All right, so that's what I'm talking about. They have color families. So when you're adjusting the temperament, you're changing the color of the note to a slightly higher or lower pitch. On the other hand, I compare concert pitch families like font families, because you're going to choose your font. So you begin with the chosen tuning note, 440, 432, 256. Then you're going to tune all other notes from that one note based on your chosen temperament, if you're not using equal temperament. And we'll get into that later. So here's an example. On the left, you're going to see, obviously, you look at that, you know, those are greens. Those are the hex numbers that you use to create those exact colors, but they're all some form of green. The lighter the color they are, the lower they would be in a hertz frequency. The darker they are, the higher they would be in a hertz frequency. So we could say, I don't know this for sure, but let's say A440, well, not, I mean, C in the 440 concert pitch might be more like the one on the bottom right, somewhere between the bottom right and the bottom left. Whereas if you're in the 432 concert pitch, it might be, you know, closer to the one in the middle on the top row. Okay. So those are your temperament families, you know, choosing, you're doing it all based on note colors. Okay. Whereas on the right side, you're looking at your concert pitch is like a font family. So temperament is like a color family. Concert pitch is like a font family. When you change the font family, all letters stay in that family. So when you choose a concert pitch, all of the other notes fit harmoniously with that concert pitch based on the temperament you choose. The font family determines how all the letters look. When choosing a concert pitch, it sets the parameters for all the notes and how they're going to sound. Just like a font title chooses the parameter for all of the letters in that family to look the same. The concert pitch is like the font family name. The temperament directs the pitches in the family. So you can see here how temperament and concert pitch work together. Here's an example of what they call Lucy tuning, which how they originally did it in the Baroque era. You're going to notice that they have a different pitch for A sharp and B flat and B and C flat. And you'll notice this is in 440. And so, for example, A, they got 440, A sharp is A457, whereas B flat is 472. So B flat is actually a higher pitch than A sharp. And you wonder, what? That all has to do with the intervals that are between. Because if you're coming from a lower interval, you're going to choose a note differently than if you're arriving at that pitch from a higher note. And that was the problem with early keyboards. They struggled. You know, violin and cello and viola and bass players, they just adjust their fingers to make those. Now you're going to see on the right-hand side, those are the colors in the 440 concert pitch of where those specific frequencies would lie. Okay? So here you are. This is the color family for these notes in the 440 concert pitch. There's an example of equal temperament that I showed you from the last time, showing those same colors on a ruler. So this is a visual. Then you go into the just intonation. Same thing. The colors are going to be close to the same. They just might be different hex number if it's a higher or lower pitch. And you're going to notice that they're not quite the same, but they're close enough. And most people would not be able to tell. I'm going to have to move this so you can read this whole thing on the bottom. And in case you want to do a screenshot, you don't want to look at me. There we go. Put me there for right now. So for example, just intonation was all about beatless tuning, which means none of the, you don't want the wah, 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 wah. You want wah, you know, wah, 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 to make it perfectly in tune. No beating. And that means you have to adjust each interval separately. And string players naturally do it. Singers naturally do it if they're good, if they have good ears. Wind players can do it with fingerings, with changing their oral cavities. But piano players, keyboard players, and fretted instrument players can't make those adjustments. Okay. Now we're going to move on to choosing the concert pitch, and I'm going to have to move me again. Ooh, maybe not. Keyboards and string instruments. Pianos are made to play in 440. Electronic keyboards can often allow adjustments in concert pitch. If it's a cheap keyboard, probably not. And it has to be one that has weighted keys, which feels like a real piano. The ones with not weighted keys tend to not have that feature. So if you really want it, make sure the keyboard that you're buying allows you to change concert pitch. All string instruments, you can choose your starting pitch, and from there, then you tune all your other strings. Wind instruments. The modern instruments can adjust between 439 up to A444. A lot of that is going to depend on the weather, humidity, bunch of other things. Period instruments, which are like from the 16, 17, 18, early 1900s, they are made to play in a variety of concert pitches. So if you really want to play in A432, you're best going to get an instrument that was built to play in that concert pitch. It's not going to be an equal temperament probably, but it'll be close. Temperature and humidity always play a role in tuning. Okay. The problem with temperament, and can you fix it? And here's another picture of equal temperament on a clock. And you see it's all equally spaced, which is what equal temperament is about. Changing temperament. Electronic keyboards and fretted instruments. Some electronic keyboards allow for change in temperament. Pianos are all in ET, equal temperament, and cannot be changed. No piano tuner in their right mind will change your temperament because you will be unhappy with them. You just don't realize that. So don't ever ask a piano tuner to change your instrument out of ET. Okay, if you are playing or purchasing an electronic keyboard, you want to make sure that you have a higher quality keyboard and that will allow for temperament change as well as concert pitch change. My old instrument would not allow temperament change, but it did allow concert pitch. Now, I just leave things in equal temperament because it makes it easier to work with other musicians. Fretted instruments get to play in equal temperament. Sorry, that's your only option unless you go find a period instrument. Wind and string instruments. Good wind players know how to adjust so you never play in equal temperament anyway. If you're a good wind player. If you're a fifth grade band kid, you're going to sound like, yeah, well, you know what a beginning wind player or string player sounds like. String players adjust temperaments naturally without even knowing it, as well as singers, if they're good. Period instruments are generally close to equal temperament, but not quite. But, you know, anyone who knows what they're doing can change fingerings, adjust things to make it so that it's going to be in tune no matter what they do. Here is the truth about temperament. Now I have to move my cute little picture again. So we're going to move me up here. Hopefully I didn't make you dizzy. Good musicians already know how to adjust and rarely stick to ET, equal temperament, anyway. We really never had a lot of discussions about this. Tuning is the bane of every musician's existence unless you're in a rock band because you really can't do anything about it anyway, unless you're a singer. I mean, if you're using all fretted instruments and electronic instruments, then there's not a whole lot you can do. Fretted instruments and pianos are made to play in equal temperament. So I just have to say that unless you go get a period instrument before the mid 1800s, or you can have someone build you one. If you really want to change temperament, if you're a piano player, once you change from equal temperament, you're stuck with only being able to play in a few keys that are related to whichever. So if you choose A, 444, as an example, as your main tuning note, that means you're going to be able to play in the keys of A, the keys of B, and maybe C sharp or D flat, and that's about it, without all the rest of them sounding icky. So you don't ever want your piano tuner to change your temperament. Fretted instrument players, unless you find a period instrument, you're going to be playing in equal temperament because they would have to move the frets to change your temperament. If you're going to look at your frets, the ratio is going to be, you'll notice that as you get closer to the bridge, that's what they call it on the, down towards the hole on the instrument, they're getting wider, but the ratio distance is the same. String players listen and learn how to tune as you go. That's all you got to do. Learn to listen. Wind players listen and tune as you play. Use alternate fingerings and voicing as part of the process. It's all about listening. For string and wind players, fretted instruments and keyboard players, we'll leave it there. The problem with concert pitch, can you fix it? Changing concert pitch. Electronic keyboards and fretted instruments. Some electronic keyboards allow for change in concert pitch, which we said before. Pianos are all in A440 and are difficult to change. Fretted instruments get to play in any concert pitch. Be careful of string tension, because an instrument that's built in A440, they have already adjusted all the strings and put the right strings on the keyboard so that it's going to have the best resonance in the A440 concert pitch. So if you start messing with that, then you're not going to have as good of a tonal quality and resonance of specific notes once you start changing string tension, either on a keyboard or a fretted instrument. Winds and strings. Good wind players can play anywhere between A439 up to A444, which we've already said. As a clarinetist, I just change barrels, which is that piece between the mouthpiece and where the keys are. You can use longer, shorter barrels. That will help. It's not any brass instruments. They have a little tuning valve that they can move in and out, but it can make slight adjustments. String players, you can play in any concert pitch. Again, you have to watch your string tension. And I said in the last video, if an instrument was built during the 16 or 1700s and they used a different concert pitch, and then all of a sudden you put different strings on that instrument and you start tuning it to 440 or whatever it is that we're using now, it's not going to sound the same because it wasn't made to play in that concert pitch. And I don't think that instrument makers necessarily think about that. But that's, remember, temperature and humidity are going to affect a concert pitch greatly. So if you know that you need to play sharp, play in a warm room on a warm day. If you know you're going to be having to play lower, play in a cold room on a cold day. The truth about concert pitch. Wind and string players can adjust and rarely stick to specific concert pitch anyway, if you're good. Modern pianos are made to play in A440. Fretted instruments can adjust, but it's just all about string tension. If you really want to change concert pitch, if you're a piano player, you need to find a tuner willing to do it, and most are not. And it's because they understand some of the things I'm describing to you. And it's piano tuners who've talked to me about string tensions and things. So fretted instrument players, choose your tuning note and go from there. But again, pay attention to your string tension. If you're wondering why it doesn't sound as good a quality, chances are if you change your concert pitch too much, if you're a guitar player and you go down to 432, chances are the notes aren't going to resonate as well because your instrument was not made to play in 432. String players, choose your tuning note and go from there. But again, string tension. Wind players, you can make the instrument adjustments that I've mentioned before. So here's some final tips. If you want to change concert pitch or temperament, consider finding a period instrument that's not an equal temperament or A440, or if you have lots of money, someone can build you one. If you have a good electronic keyboard, make all the changes that you want. You may be limited in who you can work with because not all instruments can do that, which is one of the reasons I use a lot of percussion with the sound bass, because my crystal bowl set is not an equal temperament. It's close, but it's not equal temperament. And I mostly work off the intervals, and that's how I chose the set. But I also know that certain things are not necessarily going to work with all the bowls. Okay, then the next thing is you remember that making drastic changes can change the tonal quality. And if you change something and you don't like it, more than likely that's the problem because you changed something that the instrument wasn't made to do. All right, we'll let that fly away. Pun intended. So subscribe to the channel for all these geeky videos and others. Follow me on Instagram, X, and Facebook. Listen to the healing music that's free of ads on this channel. I have a sound bath playlist and a healing music playlist that you can listen to all the time. Then you can also purchase the albums, courses, teachings, blah, blah, blah on the website. All kinds of goodies over there for you. And I got tons of blogs where I go into lots of detail about the stuff I'm saying in these videos. All right. The next video, that was the next video. I put it in the wrong one. Okay. It should have been on the last one. Anyway, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and we'll see you in whatever the next series looks like. I have some ideas, so just make sure you keep coming back. Every Monday, a new video is released. And listen away. And if you have questions, just put them in the chat below and I will answer them right there. All right. Have a bodaciously awesome day.